Hey all, welcome to Behind the Lens, a small little podcast series where we interview VRChat creators. Our first guest is Nuoance, a creator which I've had many experience with, and I'm grand thankful you were willing to give me some time to give you a small interview and talk. So, do you want to give a brief introduction to those who may not know you?
There are people here that don't know me.
Probably.
Okay. Hi. That was a joke, by the way. My name is Nuoance. I do VR content specifically about the Society of VR Chat, talking about the economical, physiological, and psychological state of VR chat, as well as I did some Five Nights at Freddy's parodies. If you're a fan of Five Nights at Freddy's and you like Roxanne Wolf, there's a great chance you've heard my voice, and I am so sorry that you had to suffer. It will continue. I also host murder mysteries. I do a bunch of different stuff.
hmm as
Hashtag variety.
I see, that's where you get them, is in the variety, of course. However, having experienced all your kind of events over the years, it's been a blast. From anywhere from hosting to fucking suffering through your pain of mixture of events, which is bullying the rest of us, but I support it. 10 out of
Mm-hmm.
10 would do it again. However, I have a couple of questions, which some are general, generic, basic bitch questions. Others are questions which others users have submitted. We're just gonna, work through it, see what you have to say, see how you kind of got to where you are, where your plans are, and so on. First of all,
Mm-hmm.
this world. What made you decide to create this and why?
So the original Spirito Pumpkin was made in 2019, I believe, and that was 2019 or 2020, and that was when Rack had first, not first, but when Drinking Night was popping off. And I wanted to make my own drinking world. I wanted it to be Halloween themed because I enjoy Halloween, and I thought it'd be cute. I saw a tour of Justin Bieber's summer home at the time. Said that's a beautiful house. I'm gonna recreate that in VR chat. Fun fact: this is roughly what the outline of Justin Bieber's old home used to look like. Uh, and then I found out that a lot of people used it. The mods ended up using it, or the devs of VR chat used it for their own party and some other stuff. So I was like, huh, I should make it better. And when I got back into world building, I decided my first big project would be making this world again completely from scratch. So here we are.
Mm-hmm. How long did it take you to put all this together, would you say, roughly?
This one I started working on in 2022, and then I took a break because I had to learn ground up. I had never modeled completely from scratch before at this proportion.
Yeah.
So I made the outline in 2022, took a break in 2023 around I think June or July. I started working on it, and then it was done by October 2023. So a
Interesting.
couple months.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything which is within the rough vicinity which you modeled yourself?
Everything.
Everything.
100% everything in this world is modeled by me.
So everything from the assets in here, all modeled.
Yep. Yep. The
Mm-hmm.
only things that's not modeled in this world are the what are they called? The billiards table and the beer pong, which are assets, and I'm not going to bother with that. And then of course some of the little things from Risky, such as the Connect Four
Mm-hmm.
table, the gun upstairs, and also some of the assets from Risky's games I did also help make. Make is the key word.
Yeah.
But all the big things, tables, chairs, outside, inside, all was made by me.
Oh, that's really cool. It was amazing. I remember being here back in October when you first put it out, and boy, it took everyone probably quite by surprise, especially it being quest compatible and sorts.
It was a mixed review. A lot of positive, a lot of people really liked it, but some of the people who have been here since the original one, they preferred the old time mansion look versus the more modern look that I went for,
Mm-hmm.
which fair. There are some things that I plan on taking from the original and bringing back. One of the big things is the outside. I think I want a much more flat outside versus all the bumps and ridges that I tried because I wanted it to be a graveyard. Like it's supposed to be a giant dead mansion.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the biggest thing. But in general, pretty positive reviews.
Well, if we go back in time a little bit, probably quite a while for you, but how did you get into VR chat?
So I had a friend that I met at conventions. We were cosplay buddies, and he constantly, before COVID, kept begging me and my other friend to try VRChat out. I didn't
Mhm.
have a computer. I didn't see a point in a computer. I had no interest in a PC, so I had to use my grandmother's shitty laptop. We got on and we went to an open mic. And that night, I met somebody who I still know today. His name is Triple, and he started making fun of me and my friends for all being desktop users. I'm petty, and back then I had more disposable income, so I told him the next time I see him, I'm beat his ass. So I bought a VR Oculus Rift for $200. It came with 3 of the base stations or lighthouses that they had, and then the Rift, obviously. And then the very next week, got into VR. I played it on and off. There wasn't really anything of interest until I met Insane and the Insane Asylum. Got super into murder mystery. Through murder mystery, I met a lot of people. I kept joining off Triple every now and again, which is then how I met Dysfunctional Family. And once you get your foot in the door and find a community to hang out with, you end up getting stuck. And so it just blew up from there.
For sure. I've watched you kind of blow up with a mixture of content over the years. It's honestly been quite impressive. And then watching you slowly improve your editing styles, kind of your online persona, if in sense. However, what would you say brought you to where you are today with content in general, life?
So in terms of real life stuff, ironically, VR chat is what got me my job that I have today. For those who do not know, I am a VR promoter, is the easiest way to say it. I work with a company that helps get other VR titles out there so other people want to buy them. We connect with other VR chat, or not VR chat, but VR creators. And so my job is to do a whole plethora of things from making content, promoting, talking, all of the above. And the only reason I got that job was because I started making VR chat TikToks. And I started making TikTok. I got a TikTok specifically to support my cosplay friend. Decided, fuck it, you know what? I'll just try and post some videos, see what happens. Would post a single video a day, really simple, just funny trends. And then one day in 2021, 2022, I think 2022. No, it was 2021.
Mm-hmm.
When Security Breach came out, I wanted to see if I wanted to cosplay her. I tried the avatar and I recorded it to see how I felt in it. I realized, oh, these might be funny to put on the TikTok, and that was the greatest mistake I had ever made.
Well, here we are today.
Oh yeah, definitely a big chunk of my success is to Roxanne Wolf, and I am never allowed to forget about it. I am still getting the constant "Where's Roxy?"
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
It won't be let down, I can tell you that for sure. No.
Oh yeah.
Well, what kind of projects and ideas are you currently working on? I know you mentioned wanting to update Spirit of Pumpkin. I know there's other ideas in the works from just being able to know the insides, but anything you want to talk about?
There are a lot. There's a big difference between things I want to do and things that'll actually happen,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately. In terms of things that I want to do, Spirit of Pumpkin will be getting an update for October of next year, or this year, actually. I got plenty of time for that. The inside, I'm pretty happy with. It's the outside that's going to get renovated, and then each month I add more and more questions, so hopefully by next October, there'll be like 1,000 questions per game.
Mm.
I am working on my own podcast world, not for really a podcast, but a lot of my videos are long form content. And I would like to have a consistent area to stand and talk and be able to have like a nice lighting, a nice background, big consistencies. Converse has a lot of updates in the work. I need to work on Converse's home base, which is a big one. We kind of rehashed Spirit of Pumpkin as a temporary home base, but I don't want to continue using this because it's way too big for Spirit of Pumpkin. I have a lot of video projects, a lot of personal projects, horror maps, in general, hangout maps, long form content. There's a lot. There is a lot of plans. Let's see if it'll happen. If I can, get out of having the flu and a stomach bug at the same time.
I mean, that will always help.
Oy, oy.
However,
Yeah.
if you had to name one project, what would be the one you're most excited for? Or most looking forward to work on? If you're willing to say.
A lot of them. I am whatever hits my fancy at the exact moment. Like I said, there are a lot of maps that we're working on. There's a murder mystery map for the community. There's the Converse map. There's a horror map. There's a horror ride map. There's a mini series that I'm working on dedicated to bring people closer together, talking about jumping into public worlds and trying to meet new people, take them to a world they haven't been to before, see if they like it. Just like a mini little like that'll be like all a short 1 minute TikTok thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for all of them. One of my biggest issues is I don't have projects that I'm like, if I do it, I do it. All my projects are like, I need to do this. I love this idea. This idea has to happen, which makes it really hard when you got a lot of them because you can't pick a favorite kid.
Yeah, well, if you had to pick a favorite kid right now, which one would it be?
I don't have a favorite kid. I do not know. Right now, I just want to play Pal World. So
I'm sorry to take.
kind of shirking my duties of world building and stuff. I did start working on a world for Murder Mystery
Mm-hmm.
because I don't really like the layout of the one I was working on, so I need to take a fresh start and look at something else for a little bit.
Mm.
But I wouldn't call that my favorite kid. I would call that the current project.
Well, speaking of murder mysteries, I feel like it's probably a fitting time to ask one of the questions which I was asked to give you, which was, have you ever wanted to take part in your own murder mysteries? I know you've spoken about it, but do you want to?
Yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to join my own murder mysteries. The issue is, we've talked about this before. I know a lot of people who are in the server don't really realize how much we talk about it, but there are a lot of people who play murder mystery who have not emotionally matured enough to actually make murder mystery fun.
Mm.
And it's only a few people, but all it takes is, one or two people being little asshats to completely cause a problem within a game. And I know for a fact that if I showed up to a murder mystery, we have an issue of, I've talked about this on my Twitter, where people, since I am an asshole to my friends and my friends are assholes to me because that's our bond, some people think that, to be her friend, I need to be an asshole. So let me be really mean to her for no damn reason. And they think that it's friendship, but in reality, it's just weird. So I can very easily see two things happening. One, everyone just hanging off my every word, which is nothing new. When I used to play Murder Mystery, I was the detective of the group always. I was always the one that could figure out the murder. But that would be one thing. Or I'd show up and then somebody would just kill me just so they could have bragging rights of killing Nuoance in a game. And that, I mean, that's part of the game. I wouldn't care if I died.
Mm-hmm.
But it's always a little weird because it's a targeting thing. It's not you murdered because it was the time or that person was a threat. You murdered them because you want bragging rights for future, I killed Nuoance in a game 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, all right, great. Anybody could have done that.
No,
So it's a maybe. I do need to join, but I don't know if I'll be joining anytime soon.
yeah. It's furthering on that. Is Dead End public? What's the timeline for that? Do you know?
Dead End, I wish I could say. The thing is, I'm not the only one that can kind of comment on it because there are 3 owners.
Exactly.
2 of the owners are having IRL issues. I'm sick. But this is why I've been working on the new murder mystery map, which is going to be a lot simpler
Mm-hmm.
than my current setup. Because if I finish that, I might just ask if I can make Dead End public.
Mm-hmm.
And I want Dead End to come off the ground. I wanted it to be ready by this year.
Mm-hmm.
But real life gets in the way. You can't really control that.
That's completely understandable. I know it's been a bit of a slow progress for various reasons, but it's life. You can't do anything about it.
Yep.
So that sucks. However, where do you see yourself and your content in the future?
So one of the biggest plans that I would love to have in the future is, as you know, obviously with Converse, I love hosting special events. I don't like doing mini games. I don't like doing like repetitive stuff. I want each event to kind of mean something. And something that has been worked on in the background, and this has been worked on in the background for 2 years now, is a thing where I would be taking other world builders, such as the 4 Ponies, the 5 Sharks, whichever you want to call them, people who have made worlds in the past, or people who are within the VRChat community, and a once-off kind of game show. So if you've seen a lot of Japanese game shows, they'll do stuff like that. Gaki no Tsukai is a great one.
Mm-hmm.
Big fan of their content. And it's just, you take stuff related to whatever they make and you make it interesting. And I would love to be able to, in the future, have maybe once every 6 months build up a giant, like, amusement park style thing or whatever, and have people pre-selected, see if they're okay with it, go through all the motions, and then record one shebang, have a bunch of people on recording, duty, video, audio, all that jazz, so that it would be an enjoyable time. On top of that, I would like to, in the future, have a yearly charity event, such as RT and them have a charity event that they do every year. They end up raising a lot of money. I would like to do something similar in VRChat. You've heard about it, you know about it, you see the server that has all the information that I'm building on it. And I'm hoping that this year will be the first big year, but that will only happen if I can grow myself, like crawl back out of the dirt ditch that I've put myself in, because I've been lazy with my content because of, real life stuff.
Exactly. But
those are 2 big goals.
Definitely. I look forward to it, and hopefully it can all come together. Well, linking onto that, I know you've mentioned RT. Who has or is currently inspiring you to do what you do or to get where you are? I know you mentioned RT briefly. Is there anyone else, or would you say RT's had a good influence?
RT is less. He's not really much of an inspiration for my content because we have 2 different branches of ideas. I love his content, hilarious. If I had to pick someone as inspiration for content, it would very easily be a creator known as Doug Doug. Because Doug Doug has the same values that I do when it comes to creating content. And this is why I always have issues with streaming, because, yeah, I can just get on and play the game and stream the game, great. But Doug Doug's channel focuses on his server, his community, his viewers, his subscribers being part of that whole experience. And that's important for me. So that is he is like one of the main inspirations. And I loosely showed you my content list.
Yeah.
A lot of that content has been loosely inspired from something either Doug Doug has done or said or anything like that, or has been ideas that I've been like, you know what, do I think Doug Doug would do this? And how do I think Doug Doug would do this? And then I would think about it, and then I'd be like, okay, this might be a good idea, but of course I don't want to be exactly like Doug Doug. I have my own values and ideas, so it's never one-to-one, but he is a huge inspiration. I think he is the funniest.
I mean, it's always good to have inspirations and then kind of utilize ideas and then adapt them in your own way, which you've done. I'm trying to do in my own sense with this, but no, I fully understand that.
Well, I think another thing people are worried about is always being fully original 100% of the time. Especially in today's age, there's a lot of people who sit around and they go, oh, XYZ stole my idea. And then the idea is an interview podcast. In reality, there are only so many things you can do. And the really unique ideas, they'll come and go, and they're fucking amazing. Pardon my French. You're gonna have to censor that, maybe.
No, it's fine. But yeah, go on.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of people stifle their creativity because they're afraid that they're gonna be like someone else. When in reality, that's not a bad thing. I'm not gonna go and Doug Doug does like Skyrim voice activated commands. I'm not gonna go do that exact same thing. I might have ideas related to that, like I'd like to do Skyrim in VR and some other stuff, but I'm not going to be like, here's Doug Doug's newest video. I'm going to copy this one for one so I'm popular.
Yeah.
There's a difference between inspiration and straight up copying.
No. Would you ever, speaking of VR versions of action games, I know Lethal Company recently had a mod which was put out, which is the VR mod, so you can now get VR for Lethal Company. Would you ever try that, or would it not be up your alleyway?
So anything that works in VR, I do want to play. I have my new stream schedule is 1 week I will do a series. So like right now my series is Five Nights at Freddy's, so I did FNAF 1 last week. And then the next week will be a VR game. Not just VRChat. This week technically was supposed to be VR game, but because I was sick, I just wanted to play fucking Pal World.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of VR games that, I have access to a lot of them because of my work, and I have good relationships with some of those companies who have actively said, it'd be great to see more of your content, especially with our game. So I would love to, play their game.
There's a lot to do and not a lot of time, as you find.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Well, also in terms of with my business or my company, I've noticed if I start branching out to playing different VR games and posting them on my channel more consistently, I have a higher chance of working with other companies through my work, and they pay really well. I don't know what I can and can't say, but let me just put it this way. I know I can talk about Raid Shadow Legends. Raid Shadow Legends gave me around $600 to stream for 2 hours. Well, technically stream for 4 hours, and 2 of those hours was Raid Shadow Legends. So, like, just putting that into comparison, you can make some pretty good money if you start building your repertoire up of being willing to play other games and pushing that content so people see it.
Mm.
So if I make that money, I can hire an editor, and then editing, I won't have to do that anymore.
Yeah, no, editing, it's a long slog, but it's worth it in the end. At least I find.
It's the worst.
Yeah, definitely. Another question I have from one of your members in Converse: how often do you find that people IRL misunderstand what you do online? So if you try and describe your job to people you know in person, maybe not people so close, how do they kind of react to it or try and understand it?
So I've had a fight with my grandmother every time we've talked about my job because she keeps saying she doesn't know what I do. When people ask me, because it's a lot of niche conversations, I just tell them I'm an advertiser. And that's really all they need to know. And that makes it, oh, okay, you're an advertiser. Got it. I talk about how I advertise. I specialize in VR games, and I specialize in informal ads versus formal ads.
Oh, that does make a lot of sense, considering VR is relatively new in the kind of social sphere.
They unlike, other games where you own a PC, Xbox, or PlayStation, you can just buy it for whatever console you have. VR, you have to buy a separate console dedicated for that, and some people don't feel it's worth it. You gotta show them, hey, it might be a little worth it, you can get that Quest 3.
Well, I run a HP, but I assume you're using your Index right now.
Oh yeah, that's my baby. The Quest 3 is great. Quest 2, but the Index will be a special spot in my heart.
Have you tried any of the headsets, and if so, how have you found them?
So I have tried a lot of headsets. I started with an Oculus Rift, which is the Nokia of VR. It is still working strong, and it's on its 5th owner now. I was owner number 4, and it still works just as good. And then I upgraded to the Index as a little gift to myself, and still my favorite headset. Definitely one that breaks down easier. I've had less problems than some, but I've seen a lot of people have issues with it. Audio quality's great, visual quality's great, tracking's great. Quest 2, it's okay. It's uncomfortable. I get a headache very easily. Quest 3, same thing until I bought my Edition, and it's really, really comfortable. Love it. And then I've tried the Pico, and the thing about Pico is I don't remember because we were at Utah for a virtual convention that we had, a VR convention, and one of the content creators, he caught COVID.
Oh.
And he showed up to our dinner, and he actually sat right next to me. And so I got really, really sick. And I tested negative for COVID, thank God. But I was still really, really sick. And so it's really funny because the game that I had to record the ads for the Pico with, I saw some of them, and you can see, there's a split second where you can see my face, and my eyes are completely glazed over because I'm not there mentally. So I have no recollection of what Pico is like. But I have used it.
Oh, was it like so it was the Pico was more like a thing at the event itself rather than I know your company sends it over.
So Pico for a while you couldn't get here in America. I don't know if you still can't or not. My company had to fly to Japan to pick up the Pico to bring to America.
Oh my word, that's for a headset.
Yeah.
This is briefly mentioned, but this was one of the last questions which was asked. What is your main goals as a content creator?
My main goal has always been normalizing things that that should have been normalized since the start of creation. A lot of people see content creators like celebrities, and I'm a very small creator. I'm not a big creator at all. And I still see people try to treat me like I'm a celebrity, and it's really weird and uncomfortable. And as some people are aware, this has bit me in the ass before because I am perfectly fine with showing my flaws. I'm perfectly fine with talking about issues and fears that I have because we're all human. And one of my biggest problems with the world is that a lot of people are not emotionally mature or intelligent enough to understand that bad feelings and bad emotions are not bad inherently. They're not inherently evil. One of the ones that I just talked about earlier was jealousy. Jealousy is something that a lot of people go through, but if you say that you're jealous, you're inherently a bad person according to most people. But I feel like I'm willing to put my neck out to show I have a jealous side. I'm a jealous person, to show other people, oh, wait, I get that feeling too. I'm not a bad person. I don't have to hide it, because there's this idea that you have to be morally superior in every single way. You cannot buy certain brands. You cannot talk about certain things. You cannot do certain things, say certain things, act in certain ways. If you make even one tiny mistake, you deserve to rot in hell. And you'll see it on TikTok a lot and on Twitter a lot, where if somebody does something that they disagree with, they're canceled. They're gone. I've been canceled multiple times. Only one was serious. The other ones I don't really care about. But I got canceled because my door was on the wrong way. People told me they hoped I starved to death because my door was on a wrong way. And so ever since I was young, I got so tired of seeing people get called out for things that I didn't feel like were big. Obviously, things like philia, grooming, harassment, all those big things where somebody is actively trying to hurt someone else, yeah, those are important. But if somebody's like, I don't know, like a good one for me was I got called out because I curse. And I have a server for, 13 and up. I don't think that's something worth being canceled over, because at the end of the day, they're on the internet. They're going to hear a curse word. You can't shield a 13-year-old from that. Now, I would understand if the 13-year-old was in my general chat and I started talking about my favorite sex toy. That's a whole different issue. That's when you're starting to be bad. But that's always been my main goal, is to normalize people who are creators, especially because everyone can be a creator today. You can wake up one day and say, I want to be a content creator. Why does that make you all of a sudden so much more important, and your opinion so much more important than the regular Joe? It doesn't.
It just means you've got a platform to project your voice onto, kind of reinforce it in a sense, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but also those people who have that platform, it's not like they just got it for existing. AlphaRad is a great example. He got canceled, or he got shit on because he took his friends to Japan and spent a lot of money. And there are people who felt that he was undeserving of that because all he does is play video games. He does all the work. He does the recording. He did all the editing himself until a couple months ago before the canceling. Like, he worked hard to get there. He deserves that money, just like anybody else with a job.
Having started to break into the sphere, just because I want to, and I've wanted to for years, I can fully understand it's a lot. People don't realize how long even editing alone takes.
A long time. Well, it's a risk. It's just like any small business. You are sacrificing time with your friends, time relaxing, time with your loved ones. And yeah, it's a fun job. You get to have fun doing it, but not every aspect of it is fun. And once again, the sad part is being put under the microscope. As I said, I don't think I'm a bad person. I don't feel like I'm actually able to say that or not, because I feel like you can't say if you're a good or bad person. It's how you treat others and how others perceive you. But there are people who absolutely hate my guts. Right now, there are people who I've never met before that hate me with a passion. And I've run into those people before. I've run into somebody who, I've talked about this before, and it was the first time and it hurt a lot. I joined off a friend, and his friend absolutely hated my guts. She started screaming at me and telling me I'm a terrible person and how I sell nudes of Roxanne Wolf to kids. And I was like, what? No, I don't even have a nude model. What are you talking about? There are going to be people who just hate you just because you're a creator. I think that, everybody's a piece of garbage, but everyone's not bad at the same time. There are bad people, there are good people, and then most of us are in that middle area.
Yeah, there's always a grey area with things. But linking on in a sense, how do you think you found yourself? How did you also come up with your brand style? Because I know it's kind of a horror theme, but not extreme as well.
So when I first made content, I knew my original name was Moon. And I had already knew 3 other Moons. And 2 of those were content creators for VRChat. So I knew as soon as I was making VRChat content, I need to change my name. And so when I went to go make a TikTok account, before I even made the TikTok account, I was like, I need to make a new name for my brand. And I spent months trying to think of a name. I refused to even start making any content until I found out that perfect name. So that was the first step. I ended up going back to when me and Maju were kids. We had other OCs, and they were kind of like, if you ever were into Italia, they have like America, and then they have 2P America, which is like the evil version. We had made 2P versions of ourselves. And mine, because my name was Moon, Moon, I changed it to Nuo and replaced the M with a U. And so it was Nuo. And I was like, oh, you know what? I remember that. And I thought about the word nuance because my whole thing is about the small things in VRChat. Stuck them together, said, I love that name. That's my new name. And then I used my favorite model at the time. I really liked her. I started building a story based off of her. But I paid somebody to make the model from scratch, ghosted me. And so while I was waiting for that, before I realized that I was being ghosted, I built the old version of this model. And people really ended up liking her. And I started building her lore, and whenever me and Maju make ideas together, it always turns into horror. So it just accidentally turned into something freaky. I have multiple different versions of this model because I've applied to HoloLive, I've applied to V Shoujo, and each one I had to make a new style to showcase, and this was the final style where I decided, fuck it, no. For my subathon, I want my own style that I really like. That feels like something that looks cute, that is less just random assets being thrown together. And right now, I'm still just random assets being thrown together, but it's closest to my actual design.
On top of that, I know you mentioned you and Marju come across a lot of horror theme. Yeah, you at least you despise horror with a passion. Why do you think that connection's come across, or?
The reason I dislike horror is because 90% of the time it's horror in the way that actually fucks with you, especially nowadays. It's gory photos in your face, jump scares, really cheap tactics to make somebody go, ah, versus something that could be built up. I like games and stories. My specialty when writing is something that is more, it can be scary, it can be horrifying, but it's more thriller. Overall, there are scary aspects, but the world building is most important to me, and a lot of the stories have a lot of tension in them.
Yeah.
So we end up having, she loves the scarier the things, the better. I like the more background of when you realize what has happened here, you're a little like sick to your stomach, versus she likes to show the outwardly, oh, this is really fucked up, look how disgusting this character is.
Because I've noticed across your various different artworks and stuff, you can see the dichotomy of it kind of overlapping. Margie makes a lot of art for you, which you can see around here.
Oh yeah,
dotted around. I know you can see some in the back of frame.
Yeah, Maju is my main artist. She is my go-to for literally everything because, well, I love her art. I love her, and we get along. And I'm a very particular person. I've got a really good eye when it comes to looking at details, and it drives people nuts. And I don't like being that person when I don't know the artist. So Maju ends up being the only one that can handle me.
So it's more out of a necessity, if anything. But I know you two are great friends. So I will do the last one, which I warned you in advance. You've probably forgotten about it, but I'll still hit you with it. If you were to suggest anyone to have themselves interviewed, whether because of their background, what they do, or a variety of different, doesn't need to be exactly content-wise, could be map creators, avatar makers, even people who try different things in VRChat, who would you suggest as people to look out for or look into their works for people?
So yes, I do remember this question, and I'm gonna stick with who I said, and I'm just gonna say Crow because Crow is currently working on a webcomic and stuff like that. In terms of world builders and stuff, of course, my favorite people we got Rack and Risky. Always the 4 ponies, 5 sharks.
Yeah.
But Crow is definitely probably the most realistic one to say.
Yeah, for sure. But I know her work is...
I don't know any of those other people. Well, besides Rack and Risky,
I was gonna say, you know them well.
I technically know... I know 2 out of the 5 because they knew my content. But like I joke about they probably have a VR restraining order because of how many times I've brought up the devouring. They're just like, please, leave us alone.
Yeah, well... This interview was almost done in the devouring before you mentioned. Oh, you probably.
Yeah.
Well, it was a mixture out of.
Do it right in the center and have the she bitch come and kill us mid question.
Oh no, that would have been quite funny. Thinking about it, but no, it would have probably been a bit much. But thank you all for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope this gave you all a bit of a better insight. Thank you very much, Nuoance, for your time. It's very much appreciated. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and have a lovely evening, morning, day, depending wherever, and good night. See you next time. Bye!
Bye bye.